Hey guys, kinggath here with another patch for Sim Settlements. This is patch 2.0.1, which I'm calling Industrial Aftermath, which is mostly bug fixes and adding some things that I forgot to include in the 2.0.0 patch of Sim Settlements and the Industrial Revolution. Speaking of which, going forward on any of these patches, I will be including one for Sim Settlements and Industrial Revolution simultaneously. So each time that I release one of these patch videos, there will be two patches you need to download if you're using both. If you're not using Revolution, you don't have to worry about that. And occasionally, I will let you know that the Industrial Revolution patch is just a version number update, so you'll be allowed to skip it. This first one, that is definitely not the case. I'm also going to try and get back to the weekly patch schedule, though I do have a major life event coming up here. I'm about to have my first kid born, so those plans may be spoiled, but I will still try and keep the bug fixes coming. I just may be delayed on some of the content patches that I want to put out, and I hope you guys understand that. Okay, so getting on to the content of this particular patch, like I said, it's mostly bug fixes. The biggest one I think you guys will care about is, for those of you not using dynamic needs, the martial and recreational plots now have base levels of defense and happiness, so you'll still be able to make use of those. And on the martial plots, I know some of you guys didn't like my new requirement of having a certain number of industrial in order to take advantage of them. You now have an option to turn this off. Of course, right after I make the big holotape update video, I immediately go and add more options to it. Excuse me. So the martial tech requirement is what you'd turn off if you don't want the martial plots to be concerned with how many industrial plots you have. If you're looking to, or if you're not familiar with this, basically martial plots have a requirement of at least 3 industrial in your settlement in order to go to level 2, and at least 5 industrial to go to level 3. And this requirement is to simulate the idea that as your society evolves, it gets more technology, it'll be able to use that on its defenses. And as part of the balance with that, that you may not actually end up with upgraded martial plots. They provide way more defense than you could get off of vanilla defense posts, so that they'll be useful at any level. And that is also available, the martial tech requirement. You can also control that on the local level, so if you want to just set it up for some of your smaller settlements and still use the normal requirements in your other, you can do that. And on the note of local requirement, or of local zoning laws, I did set up a reset local laws option, and what this will do is change all of these back to what you have set in your normal zoning laws, and then make those continue to use those global settings. So if you decide that you don't want to control things on the local level anymore, you can go to that settlement and reset that. And then another big thing I added to the holotape was a tool you guys have been asking me for, which is the local self-destruct sequence. So if you just want to watch your settlement blow up, but you don't want to blow up everything, or maybe you just need to reset one, this will start a sequence of blowing up all of the plots in the settlement you're in. It does take a minute or two because it's got to go one at a time so it doesn't crash your system, but it was probably faster than running around scrapping everything, though. Because you're not actually scrapping them, you don't get any materials returned. So be aware, if you're using this, you're not going to get any materials back. But if you're using maybe plot costs off, or you just don't need the resources, this is a good option for you. Another big change that I made in this patch is that all of the commercial buildings for the default Sim Settlements now support all of the performance options. So things like the clutter are separated from the furniture, so you won't just have empty buildings if you turn off the clutter, and all of the other performance options are supported on those as well. I'll most likely continue to support the performance options on a large chunk of buildings with each patch, so maybe next time it'll be residential. I know industrial is going to take me a while because there are over 30 different buildings that I'll have to set those up for, but I definitely want to support those performance options on all of these buildings, so that those of you guys on Xbox or systems who are struggling with FPS issues will be able to control what exactly is displayed and what's not. So if you're not, whether or not you're using those performance options, you are going to need to refresh your commercial plots. So you can do that on the new ASAM sensor menu, or you can continue to use the immersion breaker. You'll notice that your commercial plots will suddenly have the clutter like sticking out of walls and things, and that's because I've updated the models, so they need to be repositioned, which is what the refresh plot actually does. Okay, guys, I hope you'll read through the patch notes. There's a lot to check into. I did a lot of bug fixes with this patch and a lot of little minor changes to kind of balance things out, especially with things like The ASAM sensors previously being able to be purchased for 0 caps. That was unintentional. Anyway, check out those notes. There's a lot of little changes. Otherwise, guys, take care and enjoy the mod.